The night was heavy, the moon a sliver hidden behind thick, dark clouds. Only a few stubborn stars pricked the blackness. Agnes, her wrapper pulled tight around her, moved like a ghost through the sleeping village towards Mama Patricia's hut. She clutched a small, clinking pouch. "Mama Patricia," she whispered urgently at the old midwife's door. "It is Agnes." The door creaked open. Mama Patricia, her eyes sharp even in the dim light from her small palm oil lamp, looked Agnes up and down. "At this hour, Agnes? What brings you through the darkness?" "The child," Agnes said, her voice a strained hiss. "The madwoman's child. I heard you have her." Mama Patricia nodded slowly. "The poor soul. I found her this very night on the bush path leading to the women's stream. I had gone to pluck the anumio leaf. She had passed to the ancestors, her spirit gone, but the little one was there, alive, clinging to her cold body." Agnes's eyes darted around nervously. "I will give you something in exchange for the child," she said. She held out the pouch. "My best breeding goat, and these few coins. No one needs to know. She will be mine." Mama Patricia looked at the desperate shine in Agnes's eyes, then at the offering. A good goat was precious. "This is a serious thing you ask, Agnes. A child from such a beginning." "I have no child of my own." Agnes's voice cracked. "My husband, Papa Hugo, he longs for a child. This is a sign. Please, Mama Patricia." The midwife sighed, a sound like dry leaves skittering. "The spirits move in ways we don't always see. Take her. But remember, Agnes, what is started in shadow often carries shadow with it." She brought out a small sleeping girl, barely 2 years old. Agnes snatched her up, wrapped her in a fold of her own cloth, and hurried away into the night, the secret clutched tight. For a few years, there was a kind of peace in Agnes's compound. Papa Hugo was filled with joy. He named the child Nala, meaning gift, and he loved her openly. Nala was a quiet, observant child, quick to learn and eager to please. She would follow Papa Hugo to the farm, her small hands trying to copy his as he tended the yams. Agnes, too, found a new purpose in motherhood. Then, after nearly 3 years, Agnes became pregnant. When her daughter Kira was born, things began to change, slowly at first, then faster. Kira was loud, demanding, and clearly Agnes's blood. As the girls grew, the differences were plain for all to see. Nala, even as a young girl, was hardworking. She learned to pound fufu until it was perfectly smooth, to weave beautiful patterns into mats. Her laughter was gentle, and she always had a kind word for everyone. The village elders often praised her good character. Kira, however, was lazy, preferred to admire herself and gossip, was quick to anger, and slow to help with any chores. Papa Hugo, a fair and observant man, couldn't help but notice. "That Nala," he'd often say to Agnes, shaking his head in admiration, "she has a spirit of gold. See how she sweeps the compound clean before the sun is high? Kira is still on her mat." Agnes would press her lips into a thin, hard line. A bitter seed of jealousy was planted in her heart, her own husband seeming to prefer the outsider. One evening, as Papa Hugo was telling a story, Nala, now about 10, snuggled close to Agnes and said innocently, "Thank you for the story, Mama." Agnes stiffened. In front of Papa Hugo and a visiting neighbor, she snapped, her voice cold as a snake. "Who is your mother, girl? Your mother is dead. She was the madwoman who roamed the bush, the one who died and left you. I am not your mother." Nala froze, her eyes wide with shock and pain. The neighbor gasped. Papa Hugo looked sharply at Agnes, a frown deepening on his face. "Agnes, what is this talk? The child knows you as mother." Tears welled in Nala's eyes as the truth, thrown like a stone, hit her. She ran from the hut, the laughter of Kira echoing behind her. From that day, a shadow fell over Nala. The village children, fed by Kira's taunts, would sometimes whisper, "Madwoman's Pekin." The warmth Nala had known from Agnes chilled, replaced by constant fault-finding. Years passed. Nala grew into a young woman of striking beauty and quiet grace, her character shining despite the whispers. Kira, though pretty, carried an air of entitlement and laziness. Then Victor, a rich trader from the city, came to the village. He was looking for business and perhaps a wife. His sharp eyes quickly noticed Nala as she moved gracefully, her work basket balanced on her head. He began to ask questions about her. Agnes saw Victor's interest. This big man who could bring wealth and status to her family was looking at the foundling, the madwoman's child, not her true daughter, Kira. The jealousy in Agnes's heart twisted into a dark resolve. Nala had to become undesirable. Nala! Kira! Agnes called one morning, her voice falsely bright. We are going to the deep forest to pluck okazi leaves. The best ones grow there. Papa Yugo was away on a trading trip. The forest was thick, the sunlight struggling to reach the ground. Agnes led Nala deeper and deeper, away from Kira. Just a little further, Nala, the juiciest leaves are over here. Then suddenly, Agnes said, wait here, I'll check on Kira, and disappeared back the way they came, leaving Nala alone in an unfamiliar part of the woods. Nala called out, but only the chattering of monkeys answered. Panic, cold and sharp, began to rise. The trees all looked the same. She wandered lost, tears blurring her vision as the forest grew darker and more menacing. Just as she sank to the ground in despair, sure she would die there, a gentle voice asked, Are you lost, my child? An old woman, her face kind but filled with a deep sadness, stood before her. Nala had never seen her in the village. Yes, Nala choked out. I cannot find the path. The forest can be cruel to a troubled heart, the old woman said softly. Come, I will show you the way. She led Nala through tangled paths Nala didn't recognize until suddenly they were at the edge of the forest, the village visible below. Go now, child, the old woman said, her eyes full of a strange understanding. And know that a mother's spirit always watches. Nala turned to thank her, but the old woman was gone, vanished like mist. Agnes feigned great relief when Nala stumbled back into the compound at dusk, pale and exhausted. Nala, you foolish girl. Where did you wander off to? You made us worry so, she cried, but her eyes held a cold fury that Nala recognized, fury that her plan had failed. Agnes grew more desperate. Victor was still in the village, his interest in Nala, though shaken, not entirely gone. Agnes knew she needed a more permanent solution. A terrible idea took root. One moonless night, as Nala slept deeply, worn out from Agnes's increasingly harsh demands, a dark figure crept into the hut where the girl slept. It was a man from a distant compound, a man known for his loose morals, a man Agnes had secretly paid with money she'd siphoned from Papa Yugo's savings. He moved silently to Nala's mat. Weeks later, Nala's world turned upside down. The morning sickness, the strange tiredness. Mama Patricia, her eyes filled with pity and a sorrowful understanding, confirmed Nala's worst fear. She was pregnant. Shame, like a heavy cloak, enveloped her. She had done nothing, yet she was ruined. The village erupted in scandalized whispers. Agnes played the role of the horrified, betrayed mother to perfection. How could you bring such disgrace to this family, Nala? She shrieked for all to hear. After all I have done for you, taking you in, a madwoman's nameless child. Papa Yugo returned to this chaos. He was devastated. He looked at Nala, her eyes pleading her innocence, her body trembling. He looked at Agnes, her face a mask of righteous fury. A deep, cold suspicion began to form in his heart about his wife's convenient outrage, but the shame of the situation silenced him. He felt powerless. This was Agnes's victory. Victor would never marry a girl carrying another man's child. Now Kira would be his choice. And Nala? Nala had to be cast off. You will marry Thomas, Agnes announced loudly in the market square one hot afternoon, her voice like a judge passing sentence. The news of Nala's pregnancy was already a feast for gossips. This was the final, brutal act. A wave of shock, then cruel, unrestrained laughter swept through the crowd. Thomas, the limping fisherman, the village outcast, whom many whispered was touched by madness himself. This was a fate designed for maximum humiliation. Nala felt as if the earth had opened beneath her. Hot tears of shame and despair streamed down her face as she was roughly pushed towards Thomas. He stood apart, his face unreadable, the usual pain in his eyes now mixed with a heavy resignation. As Nala was led away after a brief, mocking ceremony, a group of girls her own age, their faces alight with cruel pleasure, began to sing, their voices clear and carrying. Madwoman's daughter, oh, marries a madman, so. One leg good, one leg bad. What a pair makes us glad. Their laughter followed Nala like stones. She walked beside Thomas, numb and broken, towards his dilapidated hut by the river. Thomas's hut was small and smelled of damp earth and dried fish. "This is your home now," Thomas said, his voice quiet, almost rough. He placed a thin, woven mat on the dirt floor. "You can sleep here." Nala sank onto the mat, the taunting song still echoing in her ears, her belly a heavy reminder of her disgrace. She looked at the leaking thatch, the cracked mud walls, and the silent, limping man who was now her husband. Was this truly how her story would end, in shame and desolation? Silent tears rolled down her face as she curled up, the wind whistling through the cracks in the hut like the loneliness in her heart. In the morning, she found a cup of hot herb tea and a plate of roasted yam on a low stool. Thomas wasn't there. She blinked, confused. He had gone to the stream. When he returned, he put a bundle of firewood by the door without a word. Nala watched him from inside, her curiosity a tiny, cautious seed. Was this the same man the village treated with such scorn? Days passed. In Agnes's house, they were busy preparing for Kira's big wedding to Victor. "Look at these gifts," Agnes exclaimed to visiting women, admiring expensive jewelry and fine fabrics Victor had sent. "My daughter will live like a queen in the city." Kira preened, picturing herself in Victor's fancy apartment she'd seen in his phone pictures. "His Instagram has thousands of followers," she told the village women gathered around, their eyes wide. "At Victor the Successful, everyone wants to be him or be with him." The women nodded, a mixture of envy and awe in their eyes. None of them looked closely at Victor's photos or saw the fleeting darkness that sometimes hid behind his charming, city-slick smile. Nala settled into life with Thomas, though they barely spoke, their words as few as raindrops in the dry season. She swept the hut, fetched water from the river, her clay pot balanced on her head, and cooked with the little food they had, mostly fish and wild greens. One afternoon, she was struggling to carry a heavy basket of yams from the market, the sun burning her scalp, when she tripped on a root. The yams spilled onto the red earth. Village women passing by laughed. Still clumsy and useless, someone muttered loud enough for her to hear. Before Nala could gather them, a strong hand helped her. It was Thomas, his fishing spear in his other hand. "You don't have to carry everything alone," he said softly, his voice surprisingly gentle. Something shifted inside her, like the river changing course after a storm. For the first time, someone was kind without wanting anything in return. For the first time, she really looked at Thomas. He was quiet, hard to understand like the deep forest. His eyes held secrets, like hidden springs. That night, her stomach, heavy with child and often empty, rumbled loudly, a sound of emptiness. Thomas, sharpening a fishing knife by the flickering light of a small palm oil lamp, heard it. He went into the hut and came back with a small wooden bowl of boiled yam mashed with rich, red palm oil. "Eat," he said, putting it beside her. Nala hesitated. "What about you?" Thomas shrugged, his silhouette stark against the moonlight. "I already ate." But Nala saw there was no second plate, no other sign of food. He had given her the only meal in the house. A small warm ember of something unexpected began to glow in her chest. In the city, Kira's wedding day was full of noise, music, and celebration. Victor looked handsome in expensive Western clothes, his smile bright as he put a shiny ring on her finger. "You're mine now," he whispered, his eyes holding something possessive that Kira couldn't quite understand. Weeks passed. Kira's dream marriage became a nightmare. Victor kept her locked in their apartment, away from family and friends. His charm disappeared behind closed doors, showing a man with cold, watchful eyes. Strange packages arrived at night. Victor took them to a room he always kept locked, a room Kira was forbidden to enter. "Stay away from there," he warned, his voice holding a dangerous edge she hadn't heard before. One night, unable to sleep, Kira heard muffled voices from that forbidden room. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and curiosity. She crept down the long marble hallway. Through the keyhole, her eye wide, she saw Victor with a man she'd never seen before, a man with cruel, hard eyes. "The product is fresh," Victor said, his voice smooth as oil as he opened a large, insulated cooler. Inside, something red and glistening caught the light. The strange man nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Chief will be pleased. How do you find them so readily?" Victor chuckled, pulling out his phone, its screen glowing with his Instagram page. "They come to me. I'm very charming." Kira's blood ran cold. She stumbled backward, her foot hitting a loose floorboard. The creak was loud, echoing in the sudden, terrifying silence from the room.
If you enjoy African stories, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell button so that you'd be notified whenever we post.